Nvidia beats Wall Street expectations. Sales are up 56%. But is the AI boom starting to look overheated? That's the question many are asking. From Olympic hopefuls to cricket stars, athletes are flocking to OnlyFans. Some post tutorials, others post much more. What does it say about sports, money, and stigma? Disney once promised that everybody is a VIP. Now families are finding that magic comes with a very high price tag. And some say the middle class is being left outside the gates. The CDC is in chaos, the Center for Disease Control here in the United States. It's in chaos as its director refuses to step down after the White House declares her fired. Four senior officials resigned in protest, warning of the weaponization of public health. And President Trump says he has the right to, quote, do anything because he's the president. And he's proving it by muscling into cities, corporations, and the economy itself. All that and more.
Welcome to Filtered with TJ Walker.
Hi and welcome. I'm TJ Walker. Thanks for joining me today. I'm on location, still out in California, the Silicon Valley area on assignment, working with some high-tech companies. Not this one, by the way. I would disclose conflict of interest. But heading back home to South Florida today, looking forward to it. We'll be broadcasting from the regular studio tomorrow and back home, looking forward to that. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to post them here if you're watching us live or on demand. Special hello to our friends watching live on YouTube, on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitch. And congratulations to YouTube. As I mentioned yesterday, 6 straight months now, they're the #1 streaming service for video content and entertainment content. So they continue to perhaps not be as glamorous as Netflix and some shows on or Prime, Amazon Prime, or HBO Max, but people are watching right here, and I appreciate you watching. Let's dive into our first story. Nvidia's profits soar as AI demand explodes. Nvidia just delivered another blockbuster earnings report, proving once again that the artificial intelligence boom is nowhere near slowing down, or at least it hasn't yet. According to the New York Times, the chipmaker's sales jumped 56% to nearly $47 billion in the last quarter, with profits soaring 59% to more than $26 billion. CEO Jensen Yang told analysts, we're in the beginning of this build-out, predicting global spending on AI infrastructure could reach as much as $4 trillion by the end of the decade. Nvidia expects revenue this quarter to climb another 54%, fueled by demand for its powerful Blackwell chips, which are selling for about $30,000 a piece. Yet even with these staggering numbers, shares fell slightly in after-hours trading, a sign of just how high Wall Street expectations are. Nvidia remains the most valuable company in the world, worth $4 trillion. That's an unfathomable number. It's so huge, but its growth is complicated by U.S.-China tensions. Sales to China are on hold, though the CEO says the potential market there is worth $50 billion this year alone. So what are we to make of that? Jensen, the CEO, is seen as a real superstar, is highly respected in the industry. But you got to question everyone. He says we're just in the beginning of this. Nobody really knows. I can tell you a whole lot of smart people thought in January 2000, this internet thing is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and all these internet stocks are going to get bigger. And then poof, come March, it went poof. I'm not predicting a bust when it comes to artificial intelligence and spending on tech companies like Nvidia. But I'm also not predicting that we're just in the beginning. No one really knows. That's the exciting thing about the world. That's the exciting thing about being a part of commerce is no one really knows. And when someone tells you with absolute certainty, it's just the beginning, we're going to grow 1,000 times more, or the end is coming, doom, sell all your stock, you need to really scrutinize why they're saying that, what their conflicts of interest are. Everyone has a conflict of interest. I'm trying to give you what I feel is unbiased information because I don't work for that company. And I own no stock in any tech company. I only own stock indirectly through mutual funds. So I'm not talking up my book the way many people do. Okay, so what's the real message here? The message is, yeah, Nvidia is doing better than ever, but no one knows how long it will last. I can't predict when it's going to crash or whether it's going to just continue booming for another 20 years, and neither can you. Let's dig a little deeper here. The world is enamored with artificial intelligence. It's hard for me to have any conversation with anyone in business who isn't giddy and excited about all the different ways they are using artificial intelligence. And I'm guilty of that too. I'm a part of that. I love using I'm using it to create these graphics. I'm using it to help me with scripts. I'm using my AI clone, tjwalker.ai is working. I want to just adjust my volume here, getting some notes from my colleague. I hope my volume is better there. Great. We want to get the volume just right and make sure you can hear properly. So I'm by nature optimistic, but I'm telling you right now, you don't want to take stock advice from someone who's always optimistic because that's how you get into bubbles. That's how you buy gold and you think it's going to go to 10,000 and it goes to 500. So you want realism when it comes to your own stock portfolio. And part of that realism is realizing in the long run, things do go up. In the long run, every single person who's predicted the end of the world has been wrong. Everyone who's predicted the complete evisceration of a stock market, even with the Great Depression, things didn't go to zero. That typically only happens if you are living in a totalitarian regime, and that implodes, as did happen to the stock market in Germany in the 1940s. But beyond that, if you have invested in American stocks in the last 100 years, yes, there have been downs. Yes, there have been recessions. Yes, there have been serious declines. Yes, there have been stagnant decades. But in general, things continue to grow. Things continue to go up. That's why, in general, I don't try to short the market. I'm not smart enough for that. And those who think they are until they aren't. It's in some ways comforting to see Nvidia doing so well, given the massive, massive turmoil we have in our economy today because of these crazy tariffs, these whimsical, tyrannical dictates from a bizarre leader in one of the largest democracies, and I'll just say in North America. I don't even like mentioning his name till the last segment of the show. If you're new to the show, I'm TJ Walker, and what we're all about is looking at the top business, technology, economic, and culture stories of the day, filtered through the lens of communication skills, all with the goal of making you more successful in your personal life and your professional life, and trying to make you happier. And rather than getting depressed by doom scrolling, looking at the news, we actually learn something together. And we're a bit of a community. And joining us is Ambati saying hello. Ambati, thanks so much for joining us. Let us know where you are today. We'd love to hear from you and what is on your mind. So Nvidia, a fascinating story, and a huge, amazing success story, a company that a lot of people have not even thought about much until a few years ago. And now they're worth $4 trillion, the first $4 trillion market cap company. Very exciting what's going to happen to them in the long run. I don't know. They certainly seem to be well respected and a well managed company, but it's hard to maintain that level of growth. We've got a lot more coming up for you today on this special edition of Filtered with TJ Walker. I will be back in just a moment.
Filtered is brought to you by the following. You don't need a new degree. You don't need another expensive coach. You need the right communication habits, and I'll teach them to you in just a few minutes a day. At MediaTrainingWorldwide.com, I've created the most comprehensive library of online communication and personal development courses anywhere. You'll learn public speaking, media training, persuasion, executive presence, and more. These are the same methods I've taught to world leaders, but now they're affordable and accessible to everyone. You can start for free and upgrade anytime. Go now to MediaTrainingWorldwide.com. Confidence isn't a personality trait, it's a skill and it's trainable. Most people can't afford a full-time coach, and even if you could, good luck finding one who's available when you need them. That's why I created the TJ Walker AI clone. It's built on my 40 plus years of real-world coaching and training. You get my exact advice, style, and frameworks instantly. Ask it how to handle a tough question, get feedback on your elevator pitch, rehearse your next big talk. This is the next generation of communication coaching. It's smarter than an app, more personal than a course, and always ready. Start using it today at tjwalker.ai. You'll wonder how you ever did without it. Want to become a better speaker, leader, or communicator? Start with the TJ Walker Success Library. It's 5 of my most practical books, covering everything from public speaking to media interviews and persuasive messaging, all for only $9.95. I've trained presidents and Fortune 500 CEOs, and now you can get the same wisdom in a fast, affordable format. Go to tjwalker.com/books and download your copies instantly.
Athletes are turning to OnlyFans? Oh boy. A growing number of world-class athletes are turning to OnlyFans. Yes, the same site long associated with adult content. According to the Daily Mail, the reasons range from financial pressures to creative control. Take 22-year-old canoeist Kurt Adams Rosenthals, once a world silver medalist. He was suspended from Team GB after posting sexually explicit material. Yet he says he earned 6 figures in just 8 months, admitting, "On my first day, I made $3,250. Living on what I was living as a professional athlete was very hard." Not all athletes are selling provocative content. England cricketer Timo Mills uses his page for bowling tutorials, charging less than $5 a session. He told the paper, "It has to be family friendly. My wife knows what I'm up to." Former Olympic stars like diver Jack Laher and speed skater Elise Christie have also joined. Christie, who battled debt and mental health struggles, said, "With OnlyFans, it has helped pick me up out of a dark place." The site is now valued at $7.8 billion, is actively recruiting athletes, and reports suggest footballers, meaning soccer players for those of us in America, footballers will be next. Okay, so what's the real message here? OnlyFans, most people think of it as a place where a lot of sleazy, nasty things going on, and it's really personalized pornography and prostitution at some level. It's expanding. It's making itself available to really anyone who has a following, expertise, or fans, and selling direct access to the fans. That's neither good nor bad. That is just a technology. That's the world we live in. And you may think that you like a particular cable outlet. That cable outlet or that hotel company might be making money from porn too. It's everywhere. I don't know how to get rid of it, but it's a part of our current economic reality. Let's dig a little deeper. It's a sort of a bizarre thing for a lot of athletes in that their friends and family think, "Oh, you're a star athlete. You must be rich," because we think of star football players, soccer players, basketball players, baseball players, some of them making hundreds of millions of dollars in contracts, some of them more than $1 billion over a lifetime. Yet if you're an Olympic athlete, if you're a rower, a canoeer, archery, you don't make any money or very, very little money. And yet you spend all of your time being the best in the world. You have that brief moment, perhaps getting a gold medal, a silver medal. And then for many people, it's starting life over with no demonstrable skills. Quite often, they don't have higher education, sometimes without a social life or strong mental health because they've been 100% focused on being the best in the world at one particular sport. And it does leave a lot of people very empty. I am quite empathetic to their plight. I know I've met gold medal Olympians before working at hotels as a clerk, making very low wages. They're trying to figure out the next stage of their life. Now we do have a situation where they can monetize. I was intrigued in this article from the Times profiling the speed skater who says she was suffering mental illness, making money on OnlyFans helped take her out of a dark place because it solved some financial troubles. And I could certainly understand it's better not to have financial troubles. It's easier to be depressed if you don't know how you're going to pay for your rent and you're worried about being homeless. But if so much of your interaction with humanity is people asking you to take your clothes off or to do things to your own body or to simulate things you'd rather only do with someone you love, I think that takes a toll on your psyche as well. And that just strikes me as highly corrosive. None of you have ever asked me to take my shirt off, nor would I, nor would you want that. So it's something you could say I don't really have the ability to relate to very well. And I'll just cough up to that. Guilty as charged. But I am sympathetic to people who have worked hard to become well known in something, and they see everyone else in our pop culture who's famous seems to be making money, and they're asking, why am I not getting a piece of the pie? Where's mine? And so they are turning to OnlyFans. The technology is making it available. There's tremendous pressure, I think, on athletes. And I haven't spent any time on OnlyFans. No offense to that site, or if any of you do. But I can only imagine if you are an attractive, good-looking young woman athlete, and you go and you think people are coming to pay to learn my skills on marksmanship, and they want to pay for private meetings, and next thing you know, they're begging or demanding or offering more money for you to take all your clothes off. That just seems corrosive to me. Am I suggesting it should be outlawed or illegal? No. But is this something I would want to encourage a family member to do? No. Is this something that I think really helps most people build a longer term career? No. I think it's a bit short sighted for people. If you are an athlete and you want to teach people and you want to monetize it, make an online course. There are thousands of platforms out there where you can make money. I mean, I think Andrew Agassi has a course on Udemy, the platform where I have most of my students and where some of you know me from. So make an online course. There's Cameo, where you can be paid by your fans to say hello. So I'm just not sure why you want to be associated with a site that involves you taking off your clothes and overtly doing sexual things, although I understand not everybody on OnlyFans does that. And perhaps they have a great way of marketing more people for you and getting you out there. I don't know. I spotlighted this because I do think it's important for all of us to realize how the modern world changes, the modern media world changes, on all the different ways of making money. My caveat to you athletes thinking of making the quick buck by going on OnlyFans is this potentially damaging your long-term brand and harming you from getting other sponsorship deals, advertising deals, partnerships, joint ventures. Because if you are an athlete in a sport that isn't one of the big TV sports, you're not a soccer player, football player, basketball, baseball, but you're in something that does interest people, and you have some modicum of fame, why not start a podcast? With a podcast, audio and video, there are just numerous ways you can monetize that for a long, long time. And even though he didn't bill himself as a podcaster, Howard Stern is essentially was a podcaster before podcasting started. He's a guy who just talks in a microphone about all sorts of chit chat and interviews people. That's what podcasters do. And here's Howard Stern with a career of half a century. And now that he's in his 70s, no one's asking him to take his clothes off. He's still making a lot of money. He's made more than $1 billion at this point. So I would ask you, if you are an athlete, think about the long term and all the ways you can potentially monetize your expertise and your fame and your knowledge over the long haul. And ideally that happens, when you're young and attractive, but in your 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. So many of the top football and soccer analysts are doing that when they are in their 60s and 70s and 80s. As long as you can talk, you can be compelling and interesting to someone, and there are ways of monetizing that. So my only career strategy for you is just really think seriously about diving into something involving a business that's primarily known as pornography. Now, the line has changed. It changes all the time. There used to be a time when if you were in any sort of pornographic magazine, it was scandalous and your career was over. And then Hugh Hefner brilliantly got Marilyn Monroe in his first edition, and that kind of destigmatized posing nude. And a lot of wildly successful people who have huge contracts with major corporations have posed in Playboy, and it didn't hurt their career, it actually helped their career. So the line changes all the time. I just wanted to put a spotlight on this so that you're aware of it, because it would not have occurred to me. I'm not encouraging all of you to necessarily go on that site, but who knows? I mean, according to this, there are people who just teach canoeing tips and are making money from it. So you may have to look into it.
Hey, if you're enjoying this kind of take and want to hear more stories filtered through the lens of communication, make sure you're following the show, whether you're watching or listening. New episodes drop every single day. And if there's a little notification option where you are now, go ahead and turn it on. It helps you stay in the loop.
Okay, let's take a look at what is going on in the world of Disney. A fun place I've been to, but it's also a very stressful place for reasons I'm about to talk about right now. Disney's shift from middle class to millionaires. Disney once marketed itself as everybody is a VIP. Today, it looks more like everybody with a platinum card. According to the New York Times, families like Scarlett Cressel's, someone who's earning around $80,000 a year, her combined family income, close to the U.S. median, they now struggle to afford the trip. Cressel and her daughter already spent more than $2,300 on tickets, plus another $160 for skip-the-line access to just 3 rides. Her week in Orlando for 2 adults and 3 kids cost about $8,000, roughly 15% of their annual take-home pay. That's a hugely significant amount of money of your overall take-home pay to spend on one vacation in one place. Meanwhile, Disney's luxury offerings have soared. A renovated suite at the Polynesian resort costs $3,900 a night. Champagne and small bites with fireworks view run $230 per person. A wine-paired dinner for 2 at Victoria and Albert starts at $1,500. Consultant Daniel Curl argues this reflects a bigger shift. Companies across industries now focus on the affluent. Oh boy, do they. As analyst Len Testa put it, Disney positions itself as the all-American vacation. The irony is that most Americans can't afford it. Okay. What's the real message here? Yeah, it's Disney World, but it's every world. The world is increasingly saying, if you're not the top 5, 10% in income, we don't want your business. Don't come here. The average American family of an income of $80,000 going to Disney is committing an act of fiscal suicide. It's too expensive for most people, and that is a shame. So let's dig a little deeper here. I, as some of you may know, I started a family kind of late in life. I had my daughter when I was at age 50. So by the time I took her to Disney World and my family to Disney World at 55, I was in a lot better shape financially than if I had had kids when most people had kids in their 20s and 30s. I wouldn't have been able to afford going to Disney with the income I had, certainly at age 25 or 35 for that matter. So it does create a sense of uneasiness. And yes, I did buy various fast passes to get through some of the lines, but I realized there's so many different layers of insiderness at a place like Disney. I have friends now say, "Oh yeah, I just get the guide for $5,000 a day. They take you around. You never wait anywhere." So there's a part of me that says, "Wow, that's great. That's wonderful." There's a part of me that says $5,000. I mean, that's an incredible amount of money. I think for anyone who isn't, maybe you don't have to be a billionaire to drop 5G, but that's a lot of money. A lot of money. Again, let's look at some of the facts here. $3,900 to stay at some of the Disney hotels, $1,500 for dinner at some of their restaurants. But just the actual getting into the park has gone up. And then the real problem, to me, the biggest problem, the thing that sort of sticks in the craw, I think, of what a middle class person would be experiencing, or certainly a lower middle class person, is that all day long, if you haven't really shelled out the big bucks, you spent all day long waiting. You're waiting, 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 waiting. In this article profile in the New York Times, they talk about the profile two different families. And one of them is waiting an hour and a half for lunch. The other is like 5-minute wait. They didn't mind spending the extra $7,000 for all the fast passes and all the VIP tickets. It's one thing for Disney to do this. What I've noticed that I find troubling is even going to a little county fair, and in my situation, the South Florida State Fair, there's still this goal of every organization, how can we get the most money? Well, fine, capitalism, I'm a capitalist. But even in a place like a county fair, they're now selling these fast pass bracelets so that you can cut in front of the line. And it just does feel a little awkward knowing, okay, in this case, county fair, maybe it's only an extra 28 bucks to then walk right up in front of the other people, them looking at you enviously. It's a weird feeling. And it's an odd feeling. And I'm not going to tell you, oh, I'm so noble. I'm going to wait with the people. I don't like waiting either. And fortunately, I'm in a position where I can pay for these fast passes when I go to amusement parks. And so I do like to partake in that. But I do think there is some social theorists who say this is kind of what's driving all of these revolts in elections, whether it's Brexit, whether it's Americans embracing MAGA. They're just so angry and put upon for always feeling like second-class citizens. Because if you're not in the top 10 or 20% of income in America, there are just 1,001 ways you're reminded daily that most businesses don't want you and you're not a priority and you're not important to them. And you're lucky for them to even let you give them your money. And it comes across, frankly, as condescending. There's, on the one hand, the United States is doing well economically. More people have jobs than ever before. Unemployment is extremely low. When you look at how our economy has grown since the Great Recession in 2008 versus Europe, we've done much better. The issue is the people in the top 1% and certainly the top 20% have done so much better than the bottom 80%. Many businesses like Disney have made a rational, calculating decision. Let's go all in on these top 20%. And really, if we can focus on the top 1%, that's the creamy stuff. That's where you make the most money. And data, AI, the internet makes it easier and easier to market just to those people. And if you're not one of those people, you're kind of left behind. And that rightfully is causing resentment. So, what's my message to you as an individual, as someone who's trying to learn from the news and get better? One is you may be able to start some business that does market to the middle class. It's not gone. It's not extinct. As the stats show, the median income in America is about $80,000 per family. So that's not rich by any stretch. Certainly in expensive metropolitan areas like San Francisco, where I am today, or New York City, that's struggling. But in many parts of America, that's a middle-class income, and they do spend their money. And there are ways of making money. The other thing to realize, though, is the childhood you grew up in, where everyone went to Disney or everyone went to the local swim club and everyone did this. That is disappearing. Our whole sense of common culture is disappearing. And on the one hand, it's great that not everyone watches Fathers Knows Best and we're trapped in a monoculture. But on the other hand, it can be very alienating to people and alienating to society. And that is why I think we're seeing these populists rise, not just here in the United States, but populism is on the rise in South America, in European democracies, and elsewhere, because people are upset. People are angry, and there's no simple solution, because when you look at what the populists actually do once they get into office, most of the times they, if it's in the far right, they just say, okay, now that I'm in, forget all that populist stuff. I'm just going to cut taxes on the rich. Or if it is a South American or Central American socialist populist, they end up destroying the economy, then everybody's poor. Okay, now we don't have inequality anymore. Everyone's the same, but everyone's really poor, and our economies is in a shambles, and we're starving, and we're fleeing the border to go to Brazil or someplace else. That's not an answer either. So there's no easy answer as far as just voting for a populist who voices your anger and your discontent. It unfortunately takes voting, in my view, for centrist, progressive, liberal politicians in your country who actually are trying to make government work to help create a freer economy. Unfortunately, people who are to the center and the center left in democracies around the world are struggling. They're having a hard time. We do have a center party here in the United States. Arguably, you can make the case the Democrats in the United States are a center-right party if you looked at how they'd be judged in Europe, but they are derided, mocked, ridiculed as being a far-left party and a socialist party because of great marketing by the opposition party in this country. So it's a tough situation for people who are angry about being left out, who feel like, well, I went to Disney as a kid. Now I can't afford to take my kid to Disney. I thought I was going to do better than my parents, some are saying. And now they feel like they can't even keep up. That causes resentment. I know I would be resenting it if I couldn't afford to take my daughter to, I've been fortunate enough to take her to Disney World and Universal and SeaWorld and all of these amusement parks. But even though, things are pretty comfortable and I'm doing well, I still feel a sticker shock. I'm like, I can't believe I just spent this many thousands of dollars to spend a lot of time in line and going on 5 rides in a whole day. So at some point, do people say enough is enough? I don't know. But it is yet a reminder that we live in a media saturated world, and we live in a world where we're all bombarded with ads and marketing. You got to go to Disney. You got to go to Disney. You got to go to Disney, and Disney icons everywhere, Mickey Mouse t-shirts and Disney channels. You're not a bad parent if you don't take your kid to Disney. You really aren't. It's nice. I'm glad I did, but you're not a bad parent. There's so many things you can do that cost nothing. Go for a hike, go for a walk, go biking, spend time outdoors, play a sport with your kid. Those are the memories. I have so many more pleasurable memories with my family and my daughter doing things than just going to an amusement park. Although I do have a soft spot in my heart for amusement parks. I won't kid you. My very first job was working at a Disney-esque amusement park. So I do like them, but there's certainly a lot more to life than that. Back in a moment.
We'll be right back after this break. Want to advertise here? You better be legit. No crypto, no junk food, no supplements. Go to tjwalker.com/advertise. Most people can't afford a full-time coach, and even if you could, good luck finding one who's available when you need them. That's why I created the TJ Walker AI clone. It's built on my 40-plus years of real-world coaching and training. You get my exact advice, style, and frameworks instantly. Ask it how to handle a tough question, get feedback on your elevator pitch, rehearse your next big talk. This is the next generation of communication coaching. It's smarter than an app, more personal than a course, and always ready. Start using it today at tjwalker.ai. You'll wonder how you ever did without it. Want to advertise to ambitious upscale professionals who actually care about communication, success, and results? Go to tjwalker.com/advertise. And no, we don't take ads for crypto, supplements, or junk food. If you've ever struggled with nerves, unclear messaging, or just not being taken seriously, this is for you. I created the TJ Walker Success Library as a crash course in professional level communication. You get 5 downloadable books for just $9.95 that walk you through public speaking, media training, persuasive communication, confidence building, and daily practice routines. This is the same training I've delivered to presidents, CEOs, and leaders in 45 nations, boiled down and instantly accessible. Go to tjwalker.com/books and download them now.
Welcome back. The White House fires its CDC director, but she refuses to leave. The Biden administration never had this kind of spectacle, but today, America's top public health agency is in open rebellion. According to the New York Times, the White House said it fired Dr. Susan Monarez, the new CDC director, after a standoff with Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. over vaccines. Guess what? She's for him, he's against him. But Monarez, confirmed by the Senate just last month, is refusing to step down. Good for her. Her lawyers call the firing legally deficient, arguing only the president himself can remove her. Apparently, Kennedy tried to remove her. 4 other top CDC officials resigned in protest, warning of the weaponization of public health. Dr. Dimitri Daskalis wrote, "I am not able to serve in this role any longer because of the ongoing weaponization of public health." The showdowns follow a string of turmoil at the CDC, including layoffs, budget cuts, and even a shooting at the Atlanta headquarters. Critics say Kennedy's anti-vaccine agenda has gutted morale and endangered public trust. Former CDC leaders warn the mass resignations leave the nation less safe and more vulnerable. For now, Dr. Monarez is still in office, and daring the White House to force her out. Okay, so what's the real message here? America needs to wake up. Bobby Kennedy is crazy. He's got a worm in his brain, and now he's firing doctors in charge of your health because they believe in vaccines. Now, in normal times, someone like this wouldn't get appointed. But in normal times, when a crazy person like this does slip through, that would be the only thing anyone talks about. But because we have so much other crazy stuff with Trump trying to take over companies and extort companies and put tariffs on islands where nobody lives, this slips through the cracks. Let's dig a little deeper here. So this is really extraordinary. The officials here who've quit, their language, Dr. Dimitri saying, I'm not able to serve in this role any longer because of the ongoing weaponization of public health. That takes real guts, because this person is smart enough to know that if you stand up to this administration, if you stand up for science, if you dare seem like you're criticizing anyone in the Trump administration and you work for the government, you are going to be absolutely overwhelmed with nasty emails, calls, doxing, vile messages on X and Twitter and social media. And yes, you're probably going to get a whole bunch of death threats. I hope not. I hope people who do that are punished. But these people know what they're getting. To actually say this is weaponizing public health, knowing they're putting their own families at risk. They're putting their own health at risk because there's so many nuts out there willing to do the bidding of dear leader and track down and punish and harass anyone who speaks out, including their children. So I want to commend these people at the CDC. And I do want to commend this Dr. Monarez. She says, I'm not leaving. Good for you. I hope you stay. And I hope you fight it out. And I hope you continue to say black is black, white is white. You don't just say, oh, the new boss says white is black and black is white. Okay. The new boss says vaccines don't work. Okay. I don't want you saying that. You know, what next? Are we going to outlaw antibiotics? Is that what you want to do? Are we going to say germs don't exist? Do your own research. Come to your own conclusions. Maybe germs exist. Maybe it's just God's will you get sick and die. Is that where we're headed? I don't think we're that far off. So again, 4 senior CDC officials resigned in protest. Former leaders of the organization say these people who are leaving are public health superstars. The agency's already been decimated. Layoffs, funding cuts. There's a morale crisis, not to mention shootings at their headquarters in Atlanta. Sadly, I think no one's going to pay real attention to this until we have some kind of massive outbreak. Yeah, maybe if 1 million kids get measles and half of them die in America, maybe someone will realize, oh, maybe Trump pandering to the people who like Kennedy and don't believe in science and don't believe in vaccines, maybe that wasn't a good idea. But until then, I guess it's just going to be another story in the news cycle that we all forget once Trump announces tomorrow he's going to revoke Barack Obama's citizenship. He hasn't said that yet, but let's face it, it's probably only a matter of time. Hi, I'm TJ Walker. This is Filtered, where we look at the top stories of the day, filtered through the lens of communication skills, all with the goal of helping you be a better communicator and more successful in your job and in your personal life. So I try not to talk about this topic because it's so distasteful. And this show is primarily about looking at business stories, technology stories through the lens of communication. It's not a political punditry show. And I try to give you objective analysis, but we do live in a time when, as is the nature of authoritarian dictatorships, The politics touches everything else in society because dictators want to control, well, everything. And that, of course, leads us to our final story of the day. I really hope I don't have to talk about this guy much more, but we got to do it. Trump claims unlimited power and wields it. President Trump has once again declared that, in his words, he can do anything I want to do because he is the president. The comment came during a marathon cabinet meeting this week where members took turns praising him and reporters looked on. We talked about that yesterday here. The meeting stretched for more than 3 hours, longer than a flight from New York to Chicago, the very city where Trump now says he will deploy the National Guard despite objections from state and local leaders. Illinois Governor Pritzker warned this is exactly the type of overreach that our country's founders warned against. Trump dismissed him, saying he would have more respect for the governor if he'd simply asked for help. He added, if I think our country's in danger, and it is in danger in these cities, I can do it, no problem. Trump also insisted that Black women in Chicago are pleading for his intervention, claiming they appear on television in red MAGA hats asking him to restore order. But this assertion of boundless power doesn't stop at law enforcement. As the New York Times reports, Trump is applying the same I can do anything philosophy to America's economy. He's muscled the government into unprecedented roles in private industry, demanding that Intel give Washington a nearly 10% ownership stake, forcing Nvidia to hand over 15% of revenue from certain chip exports, and blocking Nippon Steel's acquisition of U.S. Steel until the government was given a golden share that lets it veto decisions ranging from salaries to corporate names. Steve Ratner, a former Obama Treasury official, wrote that these actions can fairly be called extortion. That's right, extortion. Strong words, but accurate words. And that they undermine the rule of law and the stability businesses rely on. The approach contrasts sharply with earlier government interventions like the 2009 auto bailouts, when Washington deliberately avoided permanent ownership and tried to exit quickly. Meanwhile, Trump's tariffs are already squeezing the auto industry. General Motors say they will cut profits by up to $5 billion this year, while Ford projects losses of $2 billion. Ratner warns the broader pattern, government by personal decree, risks destabilizing both markets and democracy itself. So when Trump says, I have the right to do anything I want to do, critics argue he's not just talking about Chicago or one city's crime problem. He's signaling a presidency that blurs the line between public office and unchecked personal authority. What's the real message here? Make no mistake about it, Trump is being crystal clear. He's saying, I can do whatever I want to do. If I want to extort a company and say, you got to give me 10%, I will. If I want to extort another company and say, give me 15% of all your revenues, I'll do that. If I want to tell you what to name your business, I'll do that. If I want to just march my henchmen into your city or your state and take over and throw people in prisons, I will do that too. This is what authoritarian dictatorships are all about. Let's dig a little deeper here. So Trump is saying that all these people in Chicago want him to come because it's a violent place. Well, crime is actually down in Chicago. If you want to look at crime, 8 of the top 10 states with the most crime are headed up by Republicans. Funny, he never talks about wanting to go into a state that has a Republican governor and taking over things. So it's very much aligned with his goal to snuff out Democratic opposition. From Trump's perspective, if you are a Republican governor and you wear the MAGA hat and you say nice things about Donald, he doesn't care if there are 10,000 murders a day in your state or your city. Go ahead, kill anyone you want. I don't care. You're on my team. But if you are a leader of a state or a city where there's a Democrat in power He doesn't care if crime is plummeting. If it's lower than half the mega counties in the country, you're now high crime. It's dangerous. I'm taking over. Everybody wants me there. And it's just a thinly disguised attempt to stifle political dissent and to get rid of opposition. Yes, that is what fascists do. That is what Nazis do. It is what communists do as well. And increasingly, more and more people are noting that Trump is 100% of what anti-communists and anti-socialists, i.e. conservatives and libertarians, have been screaming about for the last 60 years in America could happen. And now it has happened, and it's happened under their watch. I'm TJ Walker. I want to thank you for joining me today. This is Filtered with TJ Walker. Mark your calendars. We are officially launching. This is still the soft launch stage. We are officially launching Tuesday, not far off, September 2nd. So you can then listen to this on any podcasting platform as well as watch it. Thanks so much. See you tomorrow.